Have you ever thought about someone you haven't spoken to in years, and then, out of nowhere, they call you the very same day? Or maybe you keep noticing the same number on clocks, receipts, license plates right before a major change in your life. It feels strange. It feels personal, almost as if life is sending you a message. Most people dismiss these moments as random chance. They laugh them off or tell themselves it's just their mind playing tricks. But Carl Jung believed something deeper was at work. He called it synchronicity, the meaningful connection of events that have no direct cause and effect link, yet feel mysteriously aligned with our inner world. To Jung, synchronicity wasn't superstition. It was a bridge between the visible world and the unseen patterns that shape our lives, a reminder that what happens outside of us can reflect the state of our inner being. And if we learn to recognize it, these moments can guide us, encourage us, even warn us. They can become a compass, pointing toward what truly matters. In this journey together, we'll explore what synchronicity really is, why it matters, and how you can start noticing the hidden patterns in your own life. Because once you learn to see it, you'll realize life has been speaking to you all along. When Carl Jung first began speaking about synchronicity, many of his colleagues didn't know what to make of it. In the scientific climate of his time, everything needed a clear cause and effect. If two events happened together, one had to directly produce the other, or it was simply coincidence. Jung challenged that view. He proposed that there is another kind of connection in the universe, one that is linked not by physical cause, but by meaning. He described synchronicity as the meaningful coincidence of two or more events, where the connection is not causal, but symbolic, deeply personal to the observer. It is not that A causes B, but that both happen in a way that reflects an unseen order. One of his most famous examples came during a therapy session. Jung's patient, a woman resistant to breaking through her rigid thinking, told him about a dream she had of a golden scarab beetle. As she spoke, Jung heard a tapping at the window. He opened it, and in flew a beetle, a real scarab, rare for that climate. In that moment, the coincidence broke through her rational defenses. She felt something shift, as if life itself had reached in to speak to her directly. For Jung, such moments were more than statistical flukes. They were reminders that the psyche and the world are not separate realms, but mirrors. The inner state of the mind can be reflected in the events that unfold outside of it. This is why synchronicity often feels so charged, so intimate. It is as if reality is answering a question you hadn't dared to ask aloud. It's important to see how this is different from superstition. Superstition tends to assign a fixed meaning to a symbol or event. A black cat means bad luck, a certain number means fortune or doom. Synchronicity, on the other hand, invites interpretation based on your current life context. The same symbol could mean one thing for you today, and something entirely different for someone else, or even for you years later. In modern life, Americans encounter synchronicity in countless ways. It could be a song on the radio that speaks exactly to what you're feeling, playing right when you needed it most. It might be overhearing a stranger say the exact phrase that answers a question you've been wrestling with. It could be a book falling off a shelf, opening to a passage that feels written just for you. These moments can be easy to overlook in a culture that prizes logic, planning, and control. But if we slow down and truly notice, synchronicity can open a doorway not to blind faith, but to a richer dialogue with life itself. It asks us to pay attention, to see that meaning is not just something we impose on events, but something we can discover hidden within them. To understand why synchronicity feels so powerful, we have to step into the heart of Jung's psychology. At the core of his work was the idea that much of our mind is hidden from conscious awareness. Beneath our everyday thoughts and decisions lies the unconscious, a vast reservoir of memories, instincts, and patterns. And deeper still is what Jung called the collective unconscious, the shared layer of human experience that holds universal symbols and archetypes. Archetypes are timeless patterns that show up in myths, dreams, and art across every culture. The hero's journey, the wise old guide, the trickster, the nurturing mother these figures live in all of us, shaping the way we interpret life. When a synchronicity occurs, it often stirs one of these archetypes, awakening a deep recognition that bypasses logic. Imagine you are at a crossroads in life, unsure which path to take. In your dreams, you keep seeing an image of a bridge. Days later, you pass a mural of a bridge on a city wall, and that night a friend tells you a story about crossing over into a new chapter. None of these events cause the others, yet together they echo the same archetypal theme. It feels as if your inner world and the outer world are speaking the same language. Synchronicity can also be linked to the shadow, the parts of ourselves we avoid or deny. Sometimes, the symbols that appear repeatedly point toward qualities we've buried. For instance, someone who prides themselves on always being in control might keep encountering images or conversations about surrender. These coincidences might feel unsettling, even irritating, but they carry the potential for transformation if we are willing to listen. At the deepest level, synchronicity serves the process Jung called individuation, the journey of becoming whole. Individuation is not about becoming perfect, but about integrating the different parts of yourself into a more authentic, balanced whole. Synchronicities often arrive during moments when this inner growth is needed most. They can encourage you to face truths you've been avoiding or affirm that you are on the right path. Why do these moments feel so emotionally charged? Because they bypass our conscious reasoning and connect directly to something ancient and intimate within us. They touch the symbolic language that has always been part of human life, the same language that speaks through myths, dreams, and rituals. In a way, synchronicity is a reminder that you are not just a separate individual moving through a cold, indifferent universe. You are part of a living web of meaning, and the patterns you notice are threads in that web. When we begin to see synchronicity in this light, it stops being a curiosity and becomes a guide. It invites us to pay closer attention not only to what happens around us, but to the quiet movements within us. Because when inner and outer patterns align, life can reveal its hidden map, one symbol, one coincidence at a time. If this content is making sense to you, please click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. For all its mystery, synchronicity has always lived in the tension between belief and skepticism. Jung himself never claimed it was something you could measure in a laboratory, the way you measure gravity or heat. He saw it as an acausal connecting principle, a pattern of events linked by meaning rather than physical cause. Still, he welcomed debate, even collaborating with the physicist Wolfgang Pauli to explore whether there might be a scientific bridge between mind and matter. From the scientific side, there are clear explanations for why coincidences happen. The most basic is probability. In a world of billions of events happening every second, it is inevitable that some of them will line up in striking ways purely by chance. Statistically, impossible coincidences become inevitable over enough time and interactions. Then there is our brain's natural tendency toward pattern recognition. Human survival has always depended on noticing connections in hunting, weather changes, social cues. Our minds are wired to link events, sometimes even when no real link exists. Psychologists call this apophenia, the tendency to perceive meaningful patterns in random data. There's also confirmation bias, the habit of paying more attention to things that fit our expectations or desires, and ignoring the rest. If you're thinking about buying a red car, suddenly you notice red cars everywhere. Similarly, if you're longing for change, you're more likely to spot events that seem to point toward it. From a neuroscience perspective, synchronicities might arise when emotionally charged memories activate certain neural pathways, making related images, words, and events more noticeable. The brain acts like a spotlight, illuminating the details that resonate with your current state of mind. Yet, even with all these explanations, the feeling of synchronicity remains. It's not just about noticing patterns, it's about the emotional weight they carry. Science can tell us how the brain processes coincidences, but it struggles to explain why certain moments feel like they're meant for us. This is where Jung's perspective still holds power. He didn't reject scientific reasoning, he simply believed it couldn't capture the full reality of human experience. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. Synchronicity may partly be the result of how our brains are built, but that doesn't mean it has no meaning. The meaning may be less about the universe sending us a fixed message, and more about how these moments awaken self-reflection, sharpen awareness, and invite us to act. Skepticism keeps us grounded, but openness keeps us awake. And it's in that balance between critical thinking and receptive curiosity that synchronicity can become a living dialogue, not just an intellectual puzzle. Recognizing synchronicity begins with a shift in how you pay attention. In the rush of daily life, most people are too distracted to notice the subtle alignments unfolding around them. But if you slow down and become more present, patterns begin to reveal themselves. The first key is emotional resonance. Synchronicities often arrive wrapped in a sudden feeling surprise, wonder, or even a quiet sense of peace. This emotional charge is a signal that the moment holds meaning for you. If something stirs you deeply, pause and ask, why does this feel important right now? Keeping a synchronicity journal can sharpen your awareness. Write down every coincidence that feels significant, no matter how small. Include details, where you were, what you were thinking or feeling, who was involved. Over time, you may start to see repeating themes or symbols that mirror your inner state. Pay attention to repetition. If the same symbol, number, or phrase keeps appearing in different contexts, it may be worth reflecting on its meaning for you. For example, repeatedly seeing images of doors during a time of career uncertainty might reflect a subconscious readiness for new opportunities. Timing is another clue. Synchronicities tend to cluster during periods of transition, starting or ending a relationship, moving to a new city, changing careers, or facing a personal challenge. During these times, your unconscious is more active, and you may be more receptive to external cues. It's also important to filter noise from signal. Not every coincidence is meaningful. The key difference lies in the personal relevance and the emotional reaction it sparks. If a coincidence leaves you unchanged, it may simply be chance. But if it lingers in your thoughts, if it keeps echoing in your mind, it's worth exploring further. In modern American life, synchronicity can show up in ordinary settings, scrolling through social media and finding a post that speaks directly to your unspoken question, overhearing a stranger say something that answers your private worry, or meeting someone unexpectedly who becomes a pivotal connection in your journey. To recognize synchronicity, you don't need to become mystical or abandon reason. You simply need to become a more attentive participant in your own life. It's about living with your eyes and heart open, ready to notice when the world seems to be in conversation with you. The more you notice, the more you realize that synchronicity isn't rare, it's happening all the time. What changes is your ability to recognize it, to honor it, and to let it guide you toward the next step in your path. Once you begin to notice synchronicity, the next step is learning how to let it inform your choices. Jung believed that these meaningful coincidences often arrive as signposts, not commands, but invitations to consider a certain direction. The art lies in balancing intuition with discernment. The first way synchronicity can guide you is by clarifying your inner guidance. Sometimes, you already have a quiet sense of what you should do, but doubt and overthinking cloud your decision. Then a coincidence appears. An old friend calls with advice you needed, a book falls open to a passage that mirrors your thoughts, or a random encounter confirms your instincts. In these moments, synchronicity acts as a mirror, reflecting back the truth you already sensed. In career decisions, synchronicity can open unexpected doors. Maybe you're considering a new field, and you suddenly meet someone who works in exactly that industry. You didn't plan it, yet the timing feels too precise to ignore. Such moments can give you the confidence to take a step you've been hesitant to make. In relationships, synchronicity often appears as aligned encounters, meeting a person under unusual circumstances that seem to carry symbolic meaning, or running into someone repeatedly in different contexts, as if life is nudging you toward connection or resolution. For creativity and problem-solving, synchronicity can provide fresh inspiration. An artist might find that a chance conversation introduces a concept that transforms their project. A writer might overhear a line that becomes the seed of an entire story. However, applying synchronicity wisely requires one essential caution: don't force meaning where none exists. Not every coincidence is a message. Use your intuition, but also check for grounding in reality. Ask yourself, does this align with my deeper values and current goals? If a coincidence tempts you towards something destructive or out of character, it may be more projection than guidance. The most effective way to work with synchronicity is to treat it as part of a larger dialogue with life. You notice, you reflect, and then you act. But you act with awareness, not blind faith. Over time, you may find that following these subtle alignments leads to opportunities, relationships, and personal growth you could never have planned in advance. When synchronicity becomes part of your decision-making process, life feels less like a random sequence and more like a woven tapestry, one in which your choices and the world's responses are threads of the same design. Some of the most compelling ways to understand synchronicity come through real stories, moments when coincidence seemed to change the course of a life. One of Jung's most famous examples is the story of the golden scarab beetle. In the middle of a therapy session, a woman was describing a dream in which someone gave her a golden scarab, an Egyptian symbol of transformation. She was deeply rational, resistant to exploring anything beyond logic. As she spoke, Jung heard a soft tapping at the window. He opened it, and there was a beetle of the same family as the scarab, rare for that climate and season, trying to get in. He caught it, handed it to her, and said, "Here is your scarab." The shock of that moment bypassed her intellectual defenses. It opened a door in her mind that had been locked for years. History is full of similar alignments. Consider the strange parallels between Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy, both elected to Congress exactly 100 years apart, both elected president 100 years apart, both assassinated on a Friday, both succeeded by men named Johnson, and more. While historians explain these as statistical quirks, many people can't help but sense an eerie connection, as if certain patterns replay through time. In ordinary life, synchronicity often arrives quietly. A woman struggling with the decision to leave her corporate job might keep encountering the same message in unexpected places: a line from a movie, a stranger's casual comment, a book gifted by a friend, all pointing toward the courage to start her own business. Eventually, the accumulation of these coincidences gives her the confidence to take the leap. Sometimes the alignment is so direct it feels almost scripted. A man grieving the loss of his father takes a walk in the park, thinking about how much he misses their fishing trips together. Moments later, a child runs past him holding an old fishing rod, the exact model his father used, with a broad smile. The man feels a sudden warmth, as if his father is reminding him that love continues beyond absence. In these stories, the power of synchronicity is not just in the improbability of the events, but in the transformation they inspire. They shift the way people see themselves and the world. They awaken a sense of connection to something larger, whether you call it the unconscious, the collective soul, or simply life's hidden order. The beauty is that these moments are not reserved for mystics or psychologists. They can happen to anyone, anywhere, if we are willing to notice. And when we do, the ordinary fabric of life reveals its secret embroidery patterns we didn't realize were there, guiding us toward the next step in our unfolding story. Beyond its psychological explanations and personal stories, synchronicity carries a deeper invitation to see life not as a series of random events, but as a living conversation between you and the world. Jung often spoke of the psyche and the outer world as two mirrors reflecting the same truth. Synchronicity is where those reflections align, allowing you to glimpse the underlying unity. When you begin to see synchronicity this way, it stops being about good luck or strange coincidences and becomes something more profound, a form of guidance. It's as if life has a feedback system, gently adjusting your path through symbolic markers. You may not always understand the full meaning in the moment, but looking back, you often see how each alignment led you exactly where you needed to be. Spiritually, synchronicity reminds us that we are not separate from the whole. The same patterns that shape galaxies also weave through our personal lives. The same archetypes that appear in myths thousands of years old still whisper to us through modern signs and symbols. In this sense, every meaningful coincidence is a thread in the larger tapestry of human experience. This doesn't mean surrendering your free will to some invisible hand. Instead, it's about living in partnership with life, making conscious choices while staying open to the subtle ways the world responds. You walk forward, but you also listen. You plan, but you also allow space for the unplanned to guide you. For many, synchronicity also acts as a spiritual teacher in the art of trust. It invites you to trust that even when you cannot see the full map, there is a pattern unfolding, that the moments of alignment are not accidents, but invitations to deepen your awareness, to engage with life as something meaningful and alive. When approached with humility and openness, synchronicity can transform your relationship with reality. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start wondering, "What is life showing me right now?" And that shift from passive observer to active participant is where the real magic lies. In the end, synchronicity is not about predicting the future or decoding every coincidence. It's about walking through the world with a heightened sensitivity to meaning. It's about letting the small alignments inspire you to live more consciously, more courageously, and more connected to the mystery that surrounds us all. Synchronicity is a reminder that life is not just a straight road measured by logic and schedules. Beneath the surface, there is a quieter rhythm, a web of connections weaving together your inner world and the events that unfold around you. When you begin to notice it, you realize that you are not simply drifting through random moments. You are in constant dialogue with something larger, a wisdom that speaks through patterns, timing, and unexpected alignments. These moments do not come with flashing signs or absolute instructions. They arrive softly, like whispers, a phrase in a conversation, a symbol in a dream, a chance meeting that feels too precise to dismiss. And if you choose to listen, they can open doors you never knew existed. So, in the days ahead, pay attention, keep a record of the coincidences that stir something inside you, look for the threads that connect them, and when the pattern begins to take shape, dare to follow where it leads. If you've experienced a moment of synchronicity that changed you, however small or grand, share it in the comments below. Your story might be the sign someone else is waiting for. And if this exploration spoke to you, remember to like, subscribe, and share it. The more we notice life's hidden patterns, the more we can walk our paths with clarity, trust, and wonder.